Manchester, when the team is going to win, it's going closer.
What a way to get through to the quarter-finals, 7-0.
Manchester City
FC Bayern Munich.
Manchester City will play Bayern Munich. Pep Guardiola up against the club that he used to manage.
It's a great time. It's a fantastic time.
That's a very, very spicy draw.
We are ready for the fight. I can see a big show of football.
You've got one side in Man City who can score in bunches for fun.
I'm here to try to help the club to win the Champions League for the first time.
A sensational display.
Bayern Munich are talented, they're organised and they work hard.
So if they're going to win it this year, they're going to have to win it the hard way.
The teams share a common goal in desperately wanting to win the Champions League. Both managers and both sets of players are winners. This one has that little bit of everything.
Good evening, my friends. The stage is set for arguably the hotly most anticipated fixture of these first-round ties in the Champions League as the two favourites, Manchester City, meet at the Etihad Stadium. Bayern Munich are our opponent. Wow, we Champions League nights at the Etihad don't get much bigger and better than this. Neither do our guests in the studio here on Matchday Live. My name is Cel Spellman. So great to be with you this evening, alongside, of course, a man that needs no introduction, Mr. Nedum Onuoha, Mr. Michael Brown, and our inspirational leader from our women's team, Steph, Houghton. So great to have everybody here in the studio. Before we start looking to tonight's game, let's reflect back on a big weekend in the Premier League. Michael, I'm going to come to you. You were at St Mary's. How much of a great performance was that from Manchester City at the weekend?
It was a brilliant performance. I felt like it took a little bit of time to come through. You're starting to get a little bit edgy, thinking, here we go, what type of performance is Southampton going to be? Obviously, going there early on in the season and losing that game in the Cup, you start to think, well, they're at the bottom, they're fighting for their life, a difficult place to go at times. But then again, it was just Kevin De Bruyne. He had 1, 2, 3 opportunities starting to come into it. And you feel straight away when he does that, he's going to create these opportunities. He's got such ability to do that. And then I think the goal on, right at the half-time, I think sort of eased the nerves. And then it was very, very comfortable. Top performance. Top performance indeed. Of course, some unbelievable goals, none other than the overhead kick from Haaland. That then, of course, gave us the 3 points, closed the gap to 5 points. Nedum, the game on Sunday, Arsenal-Liverpool. How important of a result could that be come the end of the season for City?
I think it could be huge. I think for a lot of people now, they're saying is, it's in City's hands. Well, I would say it's in both teams. If Arsenal win all their games, they win it. If City potentially do, they do it. So, but it's a great sort of, what's the best? It's like, it just entices you in, doesn't it? At 5, you're still thinking you still need something else, but here's the something else. And it's so early between now and the end of the season that you have to get hopeful again. And I think, we've discovered now it's not just City that struggle going to Anfield, it's basically everyone. Yeah. So the fact that that's ended up going that way is big, and now every game feels huge. And, this is what you want to see at the end of the season, be playing for something.
It really is indeed. I mean, Steph, for the players as well, and we know that, for you guys as well, it's the same, very focused on the next game. Players, I guess, won't be able to help feel, though, that there is maybe now that little bit of an opening that wasn't there before, possibly. Yeah, I'm guessing some of the lads have probably watched the Liverpool-Arsenal game on Sunday, and come that result at the end of the game are thinking, OK, we've got a chance now. And as players, you do feel that. But I think confidence is obviously breeding in the camp because they've been an unbelievable run, and the performance that they had against Southampton was... Yeah, there was no way that Man City were not going to win that game. And obviously when you've got the likes of Haaland and Grealish in form and Kevin De Bruyne are able to provide us this, then at this moment, City are probably the informed team. Absolutely. Well, let's hope that form continues in tonight's game because, as we know, it is huge. Bayern Munich in the first leg of this Champions League tie. Who's going to start? Let's bring you that team news right now. Our starting 11 lines up like this. Only one change from that game at the weekend, which is Bernardo Silva coming in for Riyad Mahrez. So that means Ederson starts in goal. A back four consisting of John Stones, Manuel Akanji, Ruben Diaz, Nathan Ake. As we move into the midfield, that stalwart, that ever-present Rodrigo in the middle alongside Kevin De Bruyne and our captain Ilkay Gundogan. And that forward three of Bernardo Silva, Jack Grealish and Erling Haaland. As we then look to the bench, we've got Ortega, Scott Carson, Kyle Walker, Calvin Phillips, Aymeric Laporte, Julian Alvarez, Gomez, Mahrez and Bruyne as well, of course, that young Argentinian signed in the January transfer window. Let's begin with that change, Nedum. We're going to focus on the attacking lineup, but the big talking point, Bernardo coming in for Mahrez. What do you think Pep's thinking is there?
What do I think Pep's thinking? What do you want me to say?
Listen, we throw anything at the wall and we see what sticks.
I'm guessing that he's in there to try and control more of the game and be inside more, try and control certain bits of the midfield and sort of take some of the tempo away from Bayern, because they might want to do that maybe on the counter-attacks and such. But I think it's just in such a great position to be in, where you can take out someone that's been as good as Mahrez has been and bring in someone that's been as good as Bernardo Silva has been. So it's a slight tweak. I'll be interested to see exactly how he plays, given the fact that it's not like a traditional fullback playing on the right-hand side there. But, that's a fantastic team, isn't it? I'm just looking forward to seeing how they play.
Do you think he offers more protection? Do you know, when you look and sort of say, in this type of game, you don't want to be counter-attacked. If John Stones is going to go make that middle one next to Rodri, there's somebody who's more dynamic, who's a little bit more defensive-minded than Riyad.
Would you say he's...
in this type of game?
I think for Riyad and Bernardo, I don't know if you agree, Steph, but I wouldn't necessarily have them in a challenge for dynamism, because I don't think they're the most sort of athletic either way. But I think I would agree. I think Bernardo's better at winning the
ground
ball
he
back.
covers. Do you know, he's outright winner of the ground.
I think even his pressing and stuff,
yeah.
I think, in comparison to Mahrez, that's probably one of his best attributes, is the ability to get in and around people, and probably in these big games you need to stop their flow as quick as possible, and the press might be a bit more effective if he is playing on that right-hand side.
I think I remember Pep saying, actually, he's one of quite a few players in the world, if the only one, that can press almost 3 players at the same time. You probably understood tactically or technically what that meant. I didn't, but trusted
Not
Pep.
a nice place to be in.
But obviously we know, maybe as we like to control possession, their midfield is about getting on the ball and launching those counters, and Pep always talks about stopping that at source, which is in the midfield.
He's got everything. Do you know, I think that's what Bernardo can give you. And I was a little bit disappointing when he doesn't play because of that team ethic.
Yeah.
And I think we've seen in bigger games, Pep Guardiola's gone with more legs. You know, we've seen it against the Liverpool, for instance, in the beginning, he put a Phil Foden wider up on the left-hand side to stop maybe Trent Alexander-Arnold. Bernardo might play on the right-hand side as well in that type of game. So I feel like he has that sort of mentality in these games. But it did surprise me, actually, at home in the Liverpool game, that he didn't go with more legs. But you maybe thought, well, you've got Alvarez. Again, the press is slightly different to Haaland's press for what he brings. So it's the balance, and it's that he's always looking at to give you that difference for Pep. But Riyad Mahrez will be disappointed for sure. But it's a great team, isn't it? I think obviously the amount of minutes they've played as well recently, that group, then it should be a lot.
Well, we're so used to seeing constant rotation, which is what we need in all 3 competitions. But as Brownie says, it feels like we've hit a team that he's found has found its rhythm, and that's important to go on these runs that we're so used to seeing, isn't it, Steph?
Yeah, I think that rhythm and that connection that you have with your teammates is really important, especially when these big games come around. It is important that you know what each other's going to do, and I think this generally happens with teams towards the end of a season, that they kind of settle on a starting 11, and they kind of, especially with Pep, we are so used to him rotating, but at this point in this moment you can't really be dropping players because they're on 10-11 win game and streak, do you know what I mean? So it's like, what do you do? But I can understand the Bernardo one, because if the game opens up, you can always bring Mahrez on to do something special that he has done for the last few games.
I've got to say as well, you made that point about, say, the legs. This team here is the same team that he played against Leipzig, who are a more high-energy team. So maybe there is something in that in terms of the way he sees it.
He does feel like he wants more legs where he possibly can. I feel like that's a decision he makes. And I still go back to the John Stones role, how he does that tonight against this team.
Yes.
It's totally different, what we've not come up against. No disrespect to Southampton, but this is totally, totally different. He might have to be so selective when he goes in there, especially if Bernardo's coming inside, if he needs to drop onto somebody. Yeah. And the rest, I think, sort of takes care of itself.
Yeah.
You can see that. But this is Pep. He could change.
You literally have no idea. He could be playing left back. He could be playing left back. Who knows?
They could be playing the old one, couldn't he? He could, couldn't he?
100%, yeah, 100%.
Let's see.
Looking at the midfield battle then, which is key to both teams, obviously starting with City, Ilkay Gundogan, what will he bring us in this game, and how important will his technical ability but also his composure on the ball be in this fixture, Nate?
Yeah, I think that sort of ability to sort of take the ball, to be able to handle it under pressure. But for him as well, I think what Gundogan is really good at is the timing of his runs into the box, being in behind the sixes of the other team. Because, you know, he's so easy sometimes to forget about, but he's standing in a spot for a particular reason. And I think in this game here, if you're going to have, say, Kimmich and Goretzka, if they're the two that play, going and trying to press high, all of a sudden they've got a bit more doubt because Gundogan's on the other side of them. And Rodri's good enough to be able to play a ball. And if they split those lines, before you know it, you've got Bernardo Silva on one side, Grealish on the other side, Haaland going through the middle, De Bruyne now up with you. And that's very much in City's favour. And I think he's ultimately just very good at sort of reading the game, understanding when to go deeper, when to be higher. And he's just a big game player, isn't he? Like, I love seeing him out there.
I think he's been unbelievable. And actually, I think you see his brain on the pitch is like no other. Another man's brain is no other. Kevin De Bruyne. How key will he be, Steph, if it is Kimmich and Goretzka of almost getting past that Bayern press, which, as we've known, has been some of the best in European football for the last few seasons?
I think I've run out of things to say about Kevin De Bruyne, especially even Saturday. I was just thinking some of his deliveries into the box, I don't think anybody else in the world can deliver on the run like he does. And it's interesting when we're speaking about Bernardo, I think obviously De Bruyne likes to go into that right-hand channel, and if they are going to break, then Bernardo can maybe fill in for De Bruyne and let him do his stuff on the outside. But
nice.
I think his connection with Haaland is just ridiculous, and it just seems to be
Did you see the pass where he flicked it over his head?
Yeah.
Oh.
When he weren't even looking, he's just... I know it's only a hook, but maybe because...
No, it's not. It's more than a hook. Yeah.
His awareness is just on another level, and he really, especially in nights like this, he really kind of steps up to the mark, and hopefully he can do that tonight.
We mentioned as well, Bayern's midfield are more, maybe not as... We love to really control, dominate possession. They love to kind of be strong, get on the ball, and then fire it, obviously, to their wingers. How key is Rodri's role going to be then tonight, Brownie, trying to stop that counter and also controlling the ball when we've got it?
I think this is... it is a different role, isn't it? Do you know where you're used to having possession all the time? When you get into this later stages of Champions League against the top teams, you're going to have different problems that you're not used to. And I feel like he's had an unbelievable improvement, Rodri, as we can see on the ball, especially how he takes it, people in and around him, creates the space. Where I felt when he first come, he'd maybe make a square pass, he'd be in the wrong position, lose the ball in areas. But this again, when he's sort of learning the role of Fernandinho, is again the next test to perfect that area when you're going to be away from home, for instance, in the second leg of this game.
Yeah.
You're hoping tonight that it's much more City in control of the game.
Absolutely.
But just be careful of that counter, which you keep.
Yeah.
Is this the hardest midfield three that City have come up against this season?
What's the three?
I think it's Kimmich, Goretzka, and I think Musiala possibly if he drops in. Yeah, I'm not sure if Muller's on there tonight. Actually, we'll bring you the Bayern team news in just a second.
I think... Well, I don't know. It's tough to say. I think from their ceiling in terms of potential, maybe, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be playing well because they're very much involved in a title race in the Bundesliga, which some people probably didn't expect as well. But they are very good. And as Michael was saying, like, it's interesting today because both teams like to be on the front foot. Both teams can't be on the front foot at the same time. A team that wants possession all the time, their worst nightmare is playing against a team that wants possession all the time. Like, how are you going to deal with that? How are you going to manage it? But I think the Rodri role is going to be so significant because someone like Musiala is one of the best dribblers in sort of world football. He can go past anyone. That's a different sort of threat for midfielders to try and deal with. But Rodri's got the size in him. So if you can get close to him, I think you can affect him. Whereas I think for Kimmich, he stays a bit deeper, but they just move the ball so well.
Steph, do you think that's where the press will come in? You obviously see them, the training set up. You see how they do certain things. Do you feel like they need to stop it at source at the top of the pitch before you get it into those areas? Obviously, Bernardo or Kevin going to join Haaland, who does that so much. Jack's getting better at it. Do you feel like that's going to be so important?
Yeah, I think that's one of City's strengths, and I think going back to the Southampton game on Saturday, I think City maybe struggled in the first 20-25 minutes because Southampton were playing through the press and they couldn't really get much control of the ball. But I think that's maybe why John Stones does come into the middle a little bit more, because it does add a little bit more protection so that it's another line for Bayern Munich to get through and to try and attack City's goal. But for me, I'm like, if as a centre-half, to have Haaland and De Bruyne running at you to try and get the ball off you, you can be quite uncomfortable on the ball, and I'm sure that's what City are trying to do tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, do you know what? Let's bring in, because here on European Nights, we love to hear from some of our fans from all around Europe, and making their debut tonight on Matchday Live, we've got Ricardo and Thomas, who are from our Salzburg official supporters club. So we'll come to you, gents. Thomas, I'll come to you first. What were your thoughts when you saw that starting 11 from Manchester City tonight?
Doesn't have any.
Did that come through, Thomas? You can't hear us.
Not very impressed then with that.
We'll try Ricardo. We'll bring Thomas back.
Yeah.
Here we go. You're back, Thomas. What did you think, mate?
Love to see the lineup. I think Gundo will bring some stability in the midfield. Yeah, for sure. Quality is exceptional. Can't say more about that. Yes.
And then what about for yourself, Ricardo? We're speaking about this midfield battle. Obviously, being in Salzburg, you might know the Bayern Munich midfield a little bit better than us. Where do you think the key matchups are going to be today on the pitch? Have we got him? No. All right, we'll come back. We'll come back to Ricardo and Thomas. Sarah, welcome back to Matchday Live. Can you hear us, Sarah?
Yeah, I can hear you good.
We've got Sarah, great. OK, we've been speaking here in the studio about the importance of Gundogan and Kevin De Bruyne. What will you be hoping to see from City's midfield today, Sarah?
I'm not going to talk tactics in front of seeing all you guys in the studio. I think you know that a lot better than me. But as a fan, I would really love to see us keep pressing and definitely create chances and actually put those chances home, because I would really love to see us come to Munich, which is obviously, in Germany. We have a trip from the branch going, which is really great for us. And I would love to see us come with a comfortable cushion so that we can maybe enjoy that game a little bit more.
Yeah, I think we'll all be hoping for that in the studio. Sarah, they're saying, of course, we'd all like to take that couple goals cushion, but I think key to that is going to be pressing and what we do on the attacking side of the pitch. Let's try bring you back in, Ricardo and Thomas. I think we can both hear you now. So do tell us your thoughts on the team and where can you see some of the key battles being on the pitch tonight?
Hopefully now it works. I think if they can stop the counter attacks from Bayern Munich, because they have so many fast players, then I think City will do it. And also if City can make the first goal, then Bayern has to open their game, and I think that will be City's big chance.
And for you, gents, having probably seen a bit more than us, who has been Bayern Munich's best midfielder, in your opinion, this season?
In my opinion, it's Kimmich.
Okay. And how do we stop Kimmich then in your from what you've seen?
I think Rodri will do it for sure.
Rodri will do the job. OK, right, we'll come back to you in a bit. Daps as well, it's great to see you. We'll be coming to you in just a little moment, my man. Speaking there of the role of Kimmich, I mean, there's world-class players all over the pitch, but Kimmich, from anything we've seen, I think he's up there as one of the world's best brownie.
Well, that's what you're going to get, isn't it? Do you know, as soon as the draw come up, I'm looking and thinking, oh, no.
Yeah,
I don't like the look of this. There's so many more. I know you've got to beat everybody. You've got to beat the best.
You don't have to.
And it's in every area, isn't it? So you can talk about midfielder, what he can bring, how he can control the game, for sure. And I think this is the latest stages of the Champions League. And I think we can talk all day about our opposition, what we're going to come up against. I think we've seen here against Real Madrid, I think it's just that total performance, concentration right till the end is going to be the detail. You're going to need a bit of luck as well at this sort of stage, but I expect talent in every area from Bayern Munich for sure.
Just something I wanted to ask about actually is this concentration thing. And as we know, I think that's maybe at times cost us in the Champions League. You know, Pep says there's no problem scoring goals. It's sometimes just that slight lapse, conceding a goal. And I was reading a really interesting article talking about the 4 players he's chosen in defence, Steph. You know, John Stones, Akanji, Ake and Diaz. They are people that you associate with very rarely.
These defenders get too much credit.
But, you know,
Let the man speak. Let the man speak. Go for it. Carry on.
But, you know, looking at those 4, they're arguably the most composed on the ball. I mean, John Stones, I think, think they've got the best pass accuracy in the Premier League this season. So do you think Pep is now angling for them people that he knows he can trust that have that concentration there throughout 90 minutes, which is so hard?
Yeah, it is tough, but at the same time, that is what their job is. They can see actually everything on the pitch, and for them 4 players, they're obviously full of confidence and they love to defend. As we talk about the attacking, but
yes,
when they have to put the bodies on the line, they've done that throughout the whole season. And to see the 4 of them playing regularly together, it is actually, as a defender, to watch them, you kind of the small things that people don't really kind of take notice of. You're watching, you're thinking they just don't want to concede, and to see how angry they were to concede against Southampton, and it's just like, OK, that's the level that they've set themselves. But I think in terms of concentration on nights like these against the best players, it is for like the full 90 minutes and trying to help your mate next year. I
know this will sound like a silly question, Nedum. Is concentration something that can be worked on, or is that you've got it or you don't? To be for 90 minutes, never even have a lapse, or I mean that's kind of interesting.
No,
I mean?
To be honest, I think any person playing any position, you're not actually needed for the full 90 minutes to be fully locked in, but it's what you need to be there when it matters the most. And I think for some of those people, it comes with experience and understanding. Like, you make a mistake once, the aim, if you're a good player, is to not make it again. Understand that in the last stages of the Champions League, as Michael was saying, like, you can't be out of position by half a yard, because some of the best, like the strikers they'll play against now. Like, I watched Thomas Muller score a couple of goals in the Clasico like last week, and he's ghosting in on people's shoulders and they don't even know he's there. But that's his whole game. That's what he is. He's always following in. So you have to follow in, understanding why somebody's coming short. Say sometimes you want to be aggressive, and we talked about the City press. Well, don't press too hard, just in case they kick it over the top as part of their game plan.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's understanding, that's game management, that's really knowing what your job is.
Yes.
And these City players, they're fantastic, you know. Any team that's winning multiple games in a row at the highest level, they're exceptional.
It will be interesting how they take the ball.
Yeah.
You know, because when you have John Stones as the centre-back and you want to take it, if you're under that press, he's probably the most composed to come out in central areas. It's slightly different in a right-back position for him until he's in the middle of the pitch.
Yes.
Which is going to be a little bit more natural. But what Southampton did, they blocked the 2 at the weekend. And I'd not seen anybody do that before. They went narrow and blocked off Stones and Rodri.
Yes, OK.
And then so really then it changed the whole outlook, and it took City a little bit of a time to actually adapt to then get it through into players to move it. Akanji went really, really wide. So then Pep's thinking, well, do I need Stones at a centre-back position? Do you know?
Yes.
And it's again, they'll look at that the weekend and they'll think, well, how can we adapt? Is there something we can do that we can capitalise on? We're better players up in the middle, but they went narrow with the 2. So
and then I guess how did then?
Yeah, so then you talk about the centre backs coming out and being comfortable. You know, how do they do it?
Yeah,
but it's interesting, isn't it?
For sure.
Well, we'll see how that plays out in the game. Let's see though this Bayern Munich team then that we've been talking about, alluding to. I can bring it you now. Then it looks like this. So Sommer in net, then Upamecano, Pavard, De Ligt, Alphonso Davies. Gosh, it's just big player after big player. Then you've got Goretzka, Koeman, Kimmich. There's a name that'll be familiar to all City fans around the world. Leroy Sané does start. Musiala, of course, brilliant World Cup, one of the best dribblers as well, Nedum said earlier on in the show, and Serge Gnabry there. On the bench, of course, Sadio Mane's name we'll all know there. We've got Schenk, Ulreich, Sarr, Cancelo, Blind, Muller, Tell there as well. That big name there on the bench, though, Cancelo doesn't start, is on the bench. I wanted to begin with that. I don't know if you've ever experienced it in your careers, coming up against old teammates, but coming up against a teammate that was with you at the beginning of the season and now not halfway through the season. Has that ever happened to any of you before? Quite unusual, especially a big team, isn't it?
Yeah, it's unfortunate, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like, people be so nervous seeing his name on that team sheet, knowing that he can, like, even come on and have some sort of impact. But then for him, you know, he's trying to win the Champions League with Dortmund. With Bayern. It's just a shame that it's against Man City. Like, why is that happening? And I don't know how these rules came to be. But then I think the other side of that debate is, if you're prepared to let someone go, should you really be able to pick and choose whether they play against you or not?
True.
I think they should.
You think they should? Why?
Yeah, because I just think you look at the level we're talking about here with a top player. And I'll give you the argument again in a second, because we're going to get it next week with Sheffield United, for instance.
Yeah.
But with him, I think the agreement you'd hope could be in place to say there's an agreement that he's just not going to play in this game. And I don't know how it's happened. It's took out of your hands, isn't it, with the FA with regards to the FA Cup for Tommy Doyle and McAtee, who can't play in the FA Cup semi-final. I think for them it's a real disappointment.
Agreed.
Because I think they're up and coming. We're talking about a seasoned international and a top player. It's a strange situation. I've had it before where I had a player at Sheffield United, went to Crystal Palace. We come up against to play him and he didn't really get on with the manager. So he's in their dressing room, not with us. And you're almost going, you're still with us. You're only on loan. And it's so difficult. Does he turn left? Does he turn right? Does he go and say hello? But he's actually in and around it, and he's got to do everything he can for the football club he's at and be as respectful as he can. But it's a difficult situation.
Is there not a worry, though, that Cancelo, obviously he's won the league with City as well, knows the players and knows Pep's systems pretty darn well?
Both ways, that, my friend.
How so?
Sorry to jump in.
No.
Because you're talking about him providing inside information to the Bayern players or whatever. But then the City players know Cancelo's weaknesses as well.
Yeah, but is it not? But Cancelo's one person, whereas he knows the entire City team.
And he can say it all, but do you think they're listening?
I don't know.
They're probably not. You can give a clue, but it's different. Once you get out there, it's different.
The manager will 100% have asked him what he thinks, where do you think the areas are to go and attack, is there any particular
but then surely you should know that
Pep Guardiola tries to get out with. You look at the manager we're talking about that he's coming up against.
But Tuchel loves to tinker and think about things, but what I would say from that standpoint is, like, if you're seeking to get extra insight from City, like, watch their games. Look at how they do it, because you mentioned yourself how Southampton did a tweak to get rid of the central two. That wouldn't have.
If he comes on the pitch, does he get a little bit more attention because your teammate? Now there's fun in it, or do you
like Zinchenko when he came.
Or do you have to, give him that much more, because they generally raise the game, don't they?
Yeah.
And they generally do well. I'm quite surprised he hasn't.
Do you think, Steph? Do you think he'll be booed or applauded?
I think he has to be applauded. I think, for me, what he's done for Manchester City is, especially last season, he was unbelievable in terms of his assists and his ability on the ball. And obviously, people don't really know the ins and outs of what happened this season to leave him to go to Bayern Munich on loan. But I think, as a person that's watched City for a number of years, he has been unbelievable serving for City, and he's obviously still our player.
Yes,
so that's the thing.
Yeah, there's times you don't know where that is. I think he needs the respect. 100% he needs the respect. But ultimately, if there's something between him and the manager where they haven't been able to get on, because it's obvious he wants to play football, and you can't always play every minute, and that's where sometimes the roles that you're given from the manager, you don't always agree, and then there's times that you don't get on, and you have to move on, and that's football every day. But you want a hungry player as well.
What would inspire you more as a player if you went out there in his situation? Would you be inspired more if you were booed or cheered?
I think I'd just be disappointed, because you'd say, I've given so much for the football club, and it's not necessarily, in his eyes, his fault why he's had to go. He'll look in the mirror as well and say, I've possibly done certain things wrong, and you can't always come back the other way. But he'll still believe that he should have been on the pitch. We're all quite selfish. You look a little bit, when you're older, don't you, start to go, well, I maybe could have stood in line a little bit.
Let's check in with the real psycho City fan then. So, Kel, what would you do, mate?
What if
you were in the stands? If you were in the stands and you saw Cancelo,
I'd be cheering him.
Would you?
Be cheering him.
That's it then. That's if he's cheering him, everyone's cheering. If you're cheering, everyone's cheering.
You got it that he's gone, but I'd give him a cheer. But I know one player I think he'll definitely get a cheer is Leroy Sané. I think we loved him while he was here. He's now in Bayern Munich. Daps, how worried are you about Sané, because he does start, unlike Cancelo, on the bench?
Yeah, can you remember when he started for Schalke? Started against Schalke for us as well. Can you remember that?
I do remember that. Yeah, of course. Yeah, and then he was with us. Was it the following season? I think, wasn't it?
Yeah. Can I just say quickly to be on a show with Michael Brown, because I'm a bit older than some people, so I remember when Michael had long hair as well. To be fair. And Leroy Sané, I always say, apart from Peter Beagrie, he's probably my most exciting winger we've ever had. So he'll get a very good response tonight. I'm not sure if Cancelo would have, I don't think he would have. So, but it's interesting looking at the lineup, the fact we've gone without Walker, with Sané and with Davis, that could cause us a few issues. But
thoughts Daps, I mean, he was also. Don't want to give him too much of a compliment, but he was really delighted to be on a show with you. Daps was just singing your praises there before we got him back. But that's
get him off.
It's an interesting point he raises there about the pace.
Don't listen to him, whatever you say. Let me tell you,
Steph. The pace of that team, as Daps has mentioned, is that a slight concern that maybe we haven't got our speedster on the pitch, who I always feel a bit more comfortable with a quick break if he's on there.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Walker's pace is frightening, but I think when you speak about the likes of Sané and Davis, they could probably compete with Kyle, to be honest. And I think, for me, the way that probably Pep looks at it is if City can control as much of the possession as possible and stop their encounters, then that won't be much of a problem. But I think when we're speaking about maybe that ball in behind, that is probably when we have to be really on our toes at the back, just to make sure that nothing really gives them a chance ahead of goal.
Sarah, for yourself, were any surprises for you when you saw or heard that Bayern Munich team?
I have to say, I'm happy that Cancelo is on the bench and not starting. Maybe as much from superstitious reasons as technical reasons. And of course, we know what he can do. I'm actually happy to see Leroy Sané starting. I was a big fan of him when he played for us. And I'm always happy to see him doing well, but I hope he doesn't do well this game. Sorry.
And Thomas, I want to bring you into this as well. Again, I mean, obviously they've got a few injuries. It's still a very, very strong Bayern Munich team. Where for you are their big threats, and where do you think we could potentially lose the game and have to be wary of tonight?
I think you have to be aware, especially of the last 10 minutes and extra time. Because I know Bayern Munich, I'm watching since I'm a young child, and they always shoot the goals when it gets tight. They always shoot goals in the end or in extra time. They're just so good at it. They never give up. So you have to be extra careful till the end.
Do you know what, as well, we haven't had a chance to focus on our attack, which is one of the best in Europe, but how strong defensively have Bayern Munich been this season? I mean, I look at there and you've got Upamecano, De Ligt, Pavard, they are some big defenders. How well do you think they will do against our forward three of Grealish, Haaland and Bernardo Silva? Yeah, for sure, they're exceptional players, but I remember last week they also had some serious issues in the cup. They lost against Freiburg. And there you can see that they also have their little problems at the back. And I think there will always be a space for Haaland or for De Bruyne to put the ball in. So I'm not too afraid of that. Well, that's filled me with a bit of confidence. I'd like to hear that. We'll come back in just a little bit when we do our focus. We're going to turn our attention now onto the head-to-head of Pep Guardiola and Thomas Tuchel. The record between them two, there's been 10 games. Tuchel has won 3 of them, Guardiola's won 1. There's been 6 draws within that, and goals for Tuchel's teams, even though they've won more, has been 9 goals. We've scored 18 in the time. So for a Tuchel team, it seems to suit a lower scoring game. Listen.
This head-to-head, it just makes me think about this conversation 2 years ago, just before the final. I don't like it.
Listen, we were there in Porto together, Nick.
Don't like it, mate.
We were there.
Don't like it.
But can we not put it right? Can we not put it right?
Of course he can, but I don't like it.
How can he put it right? Of course they can.
Do so Pep Guardiola gets a lot of criticism for being a tinkerer and having so many mad ideas. Well, Tuchel's kind of the same from the German perspective, and that sort of slides under the radar a little bit. But for this, Tuchel won in the biggest game that City have had for those years in that Champions League final, and that is a blow. But his teams, they do well, especially at the start, but they do play in a certain style. It doesn't really change too much. Mm-hmm. And City can beat them. You know what I mean? It's so easy, I think. It's one of them where we're looking at it from we know Man City a lot more than we know Bayern Munich, a lot more than we know about the Bundesliga. But then, because Bayern is such a brand name, you immediately think that, they're special, they've got something.
Look at the Champions League record. It's just incredible.
Yeah, but then if you look at the last few years, apart from actually going through and winning it, City's themselves, if you change City's name, put it on someone else's and know that they get to the final stages every single season, you look at the group stage and stuff that they had, you'd be like, oh, that's a real juggernaut. This is a huge game. Most people wouldn't be surprised if the winner of the whole thing potentially came from this tie here. That's the way that some people are thinking about it. So I think Pep and his team can obviously beat them. This game will be tough. The one in Munich will be even tougher. But I'm a believer, but it's just margins, as you said before. It's just like this tiny.
Do you think psychologically, though, with the manager, do you know, does Pep try and overthink the situation when he's got somebody in that opposite dugout? I think with Pep, and I could be completely wrong here because it's Pep, I think the results do matter, but I think it's the nature of the performances. And I think if a manager outplays his team through something tactical, I think that'll affect him more than the result itself. And that could just be me. I could be completely making that up. Do you get where I'm coming from now? Mm-hmm. But I don't know. So it's not just winning; it's winning it in the.
It's how you win, because he wants to. He himself, like lots of other serial winners and stuff, they want to not just win. They want to like actually dictate the game, control the game, move it well, understand that you'll suffer, but be on the front foot. And if another manager sends his team out there and they completely outplay your team, where does that leave you as a manager? Like, because you're thinking, well, what?
Do you think Tuchel's had enough time, though, do you know, to actually implement what he wants and to get everything across in such a big game like this? Or do you feel it's just like a reaction, you know, that you get that bounce of the new manager? Or do you feel like he's been able to change so much?
I think if this was Tuchel with a Bayern Munich team that he's had maybe for a year or a season, I think we'd be probably a little bit more nervous about the game and how the game is going to go. But I think obviously results haven't been great for them in the league, and they got beat, and then they won at the weekend. But at the same time, to have them in the Champions League, it's going to be a totally different proposition with a team that City have got that are playing well. So I think when I was thinking he joined in the end of March, so it's what he's had maybe not even. It's not really that long to work with a team to kind of put your stamp on it. Like, look how long it took for Pep to do that.
Because Chelsea improved quite quick, you know, for a longer period of time.
Yeah, but they were struggling though, that's the thing. And I think that's something that's different in this standpoint here. There wouldn't be many managers that thought the job they'd be next off would be one for a team that's top of the Bundesliga in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. You know, that vacancy seemed to almost be unexpected. So for him to come in, he'll put his mark on it at some point, definitely. But for now, if you can make do with this squad, I think you'll be all right.
Ricardo, what is the thoughts over, you know, of course you're over there in Salzburg, you know, as we've said, you're taking on from a manager at the team top of the league. What was kind of the view, and how are people taking to Tuchel's kind of early start at Munich?
Sorry, I didn't hear. Can you tell again?
What was the reaction and feeling around Nagelsmann being sacked and Tuchel coming in, given Nagelsmann had them at the top of the league?
Okay, for me it was a shock, because I wanted that we play against Bayern, and also that Julian Nagelsmann is the chef, the manager there. But I think it also is a big chance now, because Tuchel is now here, and maybe the players don't know exactly what he wants, how they should play, and all the tactics. And all players at City, they know for 100% what they should do, and they know Guardiola, what are his tactics. And so I think it will be good for us.
It kind of works in City's favour. Well, you know, let's get Tuchel's thoughts on this quarter-final. We can see what he had to say ahead of the game tonight, of course, 8 o'clock kick-off at the Etihad Stadium.
You obviously plotted Manchester City's downfall in the Champions League final for Chelsea. Do you think this will help your new players, your Bayern players, believe just a little bit more in your ideas?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe they believe a little bit more, yes. But you have to earn your trust. I have to earn my trust, and I have to earn the confidence of the players every day, every single day, especially when you step into a new dressing room. And so this is the situation right now. We did not mention this final with one word, and I will not do it. That would feel very awkward for me when to do this. We focus now on our team. We did not have a lot of days to prepare this match. I would have wished for some more weeks, for some more months maybe, to understand our team better, and we don't have it, so no problem. We are excited and hopefully bring out the best in us. I would say that I know the patterns also very well, so it's not enough to know it. A lot of people know that smoking is not healthy, and still they smoke. So it's about what we do. It's not about what we know.
Love that kind of little quote there from Tuchel. I wondered, Brownie, is there an argument that Pep knows the Bayern Munich team better than Tuchel?
Do you know when the draw come out as well, he'd be thinking brilliant in some ways, apprehensive in others, looking forward to seeing all of his colleagues, people he's worked with. It would be a great story for him to go and win the game. But when you come up against your former side, all you'd be thinking is, I've got to win. I don't want to lose. If I lose against anybody, it can't be his former team. But listen, he'll know all about the football club. He'll know exactly what's going on. He's obviously across everything, you know, in all of European competitions. He's a workaholic. The detail that he has straight away in the games, he'd be very much aware of everything that's going on. And I wouldn't be surprised in a lot of times that he has these conversations with people he used to work with, because he's such a high regard that he'll already be knowing with people within the sort of football club what's actually going on. Mm-hmm. And it may be advised as well, you know, what do you think? That's the type of level he's at. So I think he'll be really excited for this one, because you look at the start of the season, Bayern were looking heavy favourites for this trophy. And listen, it's going to be a wonderful game. And I think he'll just take it in his stride, won't he, as usual?
Yeah, I wanted to quickly ask if we can come to Daps. He's down there. I think Daps is on the wall. Daps, what were your thoughts? Me and Nedum were having it out a little bit here in the studio. When Tuchel had got in charge, obviously you can't help but think of that final in the Champions League. But how are you feeling about the head-to-head between Guardiola and Tuchel?
Look, that's a natural one. As City fans, it's definitely our natural one to go to. The pessimistic ones of us. But if you think about it, after the Champions League, I don't think Chelsea got any results against us under Tuchel. I remember, was it last season when briefly, or maybe the season before that? No, it was last season when they were briefly in a title race and they came to the Etihad and they needed a win, and they looked awful. So for me, yes, Tuchel did have Pep's cards briefly, but after that, once Pep worked him out like he always does, I think Pep's got Tuchel's cards now, to be honest with you.
Oh, Daps, I like that. We like that here in the studio. Sarah, I'll come to you as well. Quick question. Can you still feel, because I think we've seen Pep's influence, particularly on football here in the Premier League. It was the same in Spain. I'm guessing it's the same over in Germany as well. Can you still feel the impact that Pep had on German football from his time in charge of Bayern Munich?
Well, I'll be honest, I don't personally watch the Bundesliga that much. I think for sure here in Berlin, all the football fans I know have a big respect for him, obviously from his time here, but of course from what he's doing now with City. And just touching on what you guys were saying just now about the whole Pep versus Tuchel thing. You know, of course his stats and of course his history can make us apprehensive, but I'm just always struck by, you know, those moments of individual brilliance, like from Kevin all the time, really. And now, of course, from Erling, who, you know, we didn't have like a few seasons ago. And I feel like, you know, however well you know somebody else, sometimes there's just those moments that you can't anticipate. So I would actually be more worried about self-sabotaging than about Tuchel personally. I hope that doesn't come back to bite me.
No, not. I think it's a good point. And I guess that's part of it, isn't it, Steph, as well? Nedum, you've said this before. We talk about the Pep Tuchel thing and we're worried about, you know, the players that Bayern Munich have. But ultimately in big games, and you'll know, you actually just have to go, well, this is what we can bring to the table and focus on what we can do, not worrying about what they might do.
Yeah, that's the ethos of the whole club, to be honest. I think it's that really having that belief in how we play and what each other brings. And I think there's just so much emphasis on it because it's the Champions League and it's the trophy that we've not won yet. And I think the Pep Tuchel thing is because the Champions League final and we got beat, I think that's more emphasis on that. But for me, I'm sitting here thinking, who would you want a manager in this moment in time? Pep Guardiola every single day, just because of what he's achieved so far and the way that we play our football.
Couldn't agree more. Listen, we're going to take a slight pause here in the studio because a bit of business for you. You'll have seen a number popping up on your screen throughout the show. I mean, it's been non-stop here. I've not had a chance to say that's our WhatsApp number. So if you've got some questions or you want to pass comment, you can use that and I'll get to them in a little bit. Maybe you've got questions for our guests here in the studio. Well, that's how you can contact us. And also, while you're on your phone, you want to make sure that you've downloaded the Manchester City app because that is, of course, where you can get commentary for every Manchester City game with the legend that is Alistair Mann. He is alongside Andy Morrison in the Etihad Stadium, and I believe we can get their thoughts now that they are giving us pitch side ahead of our 8 o'clock kickoff.
Well, thanks, Kel. Welcome to pitch side. I say welcome because To be honest with you, it's absolutely classical Mancunian. Actually, it's probably a bit windier than normal, but it is belting down here at the Etihad Stadium. Myself and Andy will be in the dry in a few minutes' time to give you the commentary, but we've been looking at the sides. Andy Morrison alongside me. We've digested the lineups. He's gone with a tweak, really, that's all, from Southampton. Do you anticipate that the Blues have the side to take an advantage to the second leg?
Yeah, I think so. I'd like to believe that. I'll stick my chest out now and say we'll qualify. But I just think there's going to be a lot of twists and turns along the way. Just the way that Bayern have set up tells me that they're coming for a draw and staying in the game. To take Muller out and take Mane out. I think Mane's one of the best defending front men that I saw when he was at Liverpool. So I'm sure he's going to be playing maybe slightly a mid-block and try and stop us. But no, whatever team they have out, they're going to be dangerous.
City obviously with Bernardo Silva instead of Riyad Mahrez. What's the thinking, do you feel, behind that?
I think it's more discipline. I think it's more he'll play from a deeper. So he'll be seen play more rather than Mahrez retreats running back. I think that Davids, the left back, Davis. I think Davis, he'll be running onto Bernardo rather than running away from Riyad, and that's a big difference. So we'll be set up slightly stronger in the midfield for the counter-attack.
It always seems to me that for the big games he goes with İlkay Gündoğan. Yeah. He's done it again. Why do you think he always does?
He's just so reliable. He looks after the ball. He never doesn't turn up, Ali. He's at tension, he's in the moment continually, and he's really at the top of his game. Over this last period of games that we've had, for me, he's been, yes, of course, Jack's taken the plaudits. Erling does what he does, but Gündoğan is playing so well at this moment in time. He retains the ball, he looks after it, and he has the ability to find space in the box. We don't see De Bruyne arrive in the box like Gündoğan, but Gündoğan's timing is exceptional, and there'll be an idea there to make that extra attacker if Bernardo Silva is slightly tucked in.
Now, of course, the fascinating thing is that Bayern Munich have changed their manager in the last few weeks. They brought in Thomas Tuchel, who's had a few successes against Pep Guardiola, not least of which the Champions League final. How much of a factor is that?
I don't think it'll affect Pep in any way. It's a game of football, and I don't think you'll look at that. I think structurally the way they set up Bayern is different now. I watched the Dortmund game where, with the previous manager, they were always 65 to 75%. They dominated the ball and were the top team in Europe, alongside City. And they were slightly different. There was 48% possession against Dortmund, and they played on the counter-attack once they'd got their noses in front. So he's happy to sit back in and be awkward and be hard to break down, where the previous manager wanted to totally dominate the ball. So it is a slightly different, but it'll come down to how good we are. If we're at our best, and if we're at our fluent, rhythmical, the way we have been over the last 6, 7, 8 weeks, we'll be very hard to stop tonight.
And what about stopping Leroy Sané? How do we do that?
Well, we know enough detail about him. We know his movements. We know what he's first touching, know which way he'll want to go. And there'll obviously be a game plan. But again, listen, we're always respectful of the opposition, Ali. But it's about us. When I managed, I'm always analysing the opposition team. But when you've got this team that we have, it's about us being at our best. And if we are at our best, I don't think Bayern can stop us.
You've kind of alluded to it there. You've alluded to it in the first answer. Your gut feeling tells you that City will get over Bayern Munich in the 2 legs?
Over the 2 legs, yes. But I still think tonight could be a frustrating evening. And I know what we can do when we go to the Allianz. I know we're more capable of scoring 1, 2, 3 goals over there. So tonight is about staying in the game. No mistakes, no red cards, Pep's already said it has to be the perfect 95 minutes to win these games of football against teams of this calibre. And, seek perfection. If we get close to it, we'll have too much for them.
There you go, the thoughts of Andy Morrison. Myself and Andy will be giving you live commentary. Make sure you download the app and you'll be listening to, I imagine, a magnificent game of Champions League football. Back to you, Kel.
Thank you, Ellie, and thank you, Andy. As he said there, Manchester City app is where you can get their commentary. Let me just recap our starting 11. It'll be appearing on your screen right now. There it is, as if by magic. Ederson in goal. It's John Stones, Manuel Akanji, Ruben Diaz and Nathan Ake, unchanged from the game against Southampton. Bar Bernardo Silva there. In the midfield, we've got Rodri, Kevin De Bruyne, İlkay Gündoğan, Bernardo Silva, Jack Grealish and Erling Haaland. Let's look at the defensive side of the pitch for Manchester City. Organised and solid at the back. I think we've only conceded something like 3 goals in our last 5, if not a few more games, Brownie, but we're coming up against a very pacey Bayern Munich attacking lineup. How does City combat that pace with maybe not having our fastest players in defence like Walker on the pitch?
It's just going to be the timing, isn't it? I think the only worry is the counter-attack and of Stones being inside. I think Nathan Ake is going to be sensible. He's going to stay where he is. He's just going to back up Grealish. And I think the 2 centre-backs have been really, really good. I think the key is when City have got the ball and coming through into the areas, Akanji's going really wide and you're leaving Diaz, Ake. Those passes have got to be really, really good against this opposition, that you're not really leaving one short where you've got that overload that's going to come at you. I think that's the one, is make sure you're right in those areas. And that detail in this type of game, that one pass, it's just the concentration levels are so key. But I really, really feel like they've had a good run of games. So you're not going in where there's 1 or 2 have just come in occasionally. I feel like they've had a good run together. And I think, yourself, when you play with certain people for a longer period of time, you're in a better rhythm and you'll be more confident. I think they'll be really confident, that back four, going into this game.
Well, one player who's made a massive difference since coming back from injury, and if I do get this wrong, I apologise, but I'm 90% sure I'm right. I think since Ruben Diaz has come back, Steph, we're unbeaten. What is it that...
Good start.
Great stat to have on your back, isn't it?
I hope you're right.
I am. No,
he's just touching his ear.
Painfully wrong. No, I think that is right. But what is it that he brings to the team, and what do you think it was we missed when he wasn't there? Maybe when we weren't quite as solid at the back with Ruben Diaz, Steph?
I think for me, I watched the pre-match huddles before the game, and he seems to be one that's talking. So I think his leadership and his communication and just his overall willing to defend, I wouldn't say that he would be our best defender on the ball. I think you're probably saying like Sir John Stones, that's why he goes in that midfield position. But I think for me, Ruben Diaz, he understands how we play. And you look at them players he's next to, they're quite new to the system. Akanji's quite new.
Has he surprised you, Akanji?
Yeah, massively. I thought he did really well when he first come in. And I think he's really stepped up to the level. And I think more with the ball as well. I think obviously he was renowned for being a good defender, but for me, Ruben Diaz is just his first and second balls, his physicality and just them blocks that he does that nobody else seems to do. I think just his overall aura on the pitch, he just absolutely loves to defend, and I'm not surprised that with the stat that you've said, because he just wants to win.
Yeah, and I think Daps, you were nodding your head there with Steph. You've been very impressed, I take it, then with Ruben Diaz since coming back into the team.
Do you know what? Steph just summed up the 2 things that Ruben Diaz said in his first ever interview at City. All the fans need to know is I'm obsessed with winning and I love defending. And that is it. He's come in, for me, the key with him is he leads the line. And with, throughout City, we always need someone that leads the line. We needed Vinny to get the best out of Otamendi, to get the best out of even John Stones. Then now this is what Ruben Diaz brings in. He leads the line. Akanji, Ake and John Stones, they're happy. They know their roles. They know that Ruben Diaz is the leader. He will push them in direction. He'll tell them where they need to go. But he just leads that whole line. And you're right. If any of those back 4 put in a challenge, he's the first over there high-fiving them. If any player scores a goal, he's the first running up the pitch to celebrate with them. And for me, when Gundo leaves, for me, the armband has to go to Ruben Diaz.
Yeah, nice. That's Ricardo and Thomas, this is a question to you both that I'm going to put here in the studio off Brownie there. But who have you been most impressed by this season? Is it Akanji or is it the resurgence of Nathan Ake?
For me, it's Akanji. I never thought that he's going to be so good in the lineup at Man City, because I thought we have Laporte, we have Nathan Ake and John Stones. I thought he would be maybe a little bit in the backup or for rotation, but he really surprised me. And for me now, he should be 100% in the lineup. Very confident from the very beginning.
And would you agree with that as well? You've been most happy with Akanji as well, Thomas?
Yeah, for sure. Exceptional player. He works all the time for the team. You see that his heart is at City, and yeah, exceptional player.
On Akanji then, Nedum, there's always been a thing of, and I think, you know, people outside of City forget, most players seem to need a season to get up to speed with City, with the style of play, with the patterns, you know, which comes from drilling it in training. Cancelo, Jack Grealish, just to name a few. How has Akanji come in and looked like he's been part of the City team for the last 4 or 5 years?
I think subtle difference there, subtle difference. So you said Jack, and there have been a few others, and you said like Cancelo, but Cancelo's more of an attack-minded defender as well. I think from a defensive standpoint, you have to hit the ground running. And I think some of
it's the easiest position on the pitch, though. That's really
That's right. Anyway, can we cut that, please? Everyone cut his mic. Everyone cut his mic, please. Cut his mic. Cut his mic. Cut his mic. But at the back, you can't afford to not fit in. You know what I mean? Like, you have to get it straight away. And I think with Ruben Diaz, as Dap said, the things he said, I love winning and I love defending. And what I like across the years, there was once a point, it's probably 5-10 years ago, where defenders, all of a sudden defending wasn't really like a big thing anymore. It's like, can you play this long ball? Can you do a diagonal? Can you break the lines? That was great. But fundamentally, people need to know how to defend and love how to defend. And Akanji has that. And the jobs that are being asked of him and others in that back line, it's to understand tactically what you need to do, but defend.
Yes.
Like, defend by yourself, defend with each other, defend as a unit, organise the people in front of you. And I think it's like, Akanji, like, most people don't know him because a lot of people don't watch the Bundesliga. He's playing essentially week in, week out for Borussia Dortmund. You've probably heard of them. He's a full Swiss international. You've probably seen them play some big games. So when he comes in, they know of his potential, but lo and behold, another player at City that's come and gotten better. And I think that's fantastic because when he first came in, he felt like he was just filling in for a period of time, but he owns it now. And
you look at fee and availability and stuff like that, and then you start to question why you can bring him in. And it's going to be like more of a support network for the defence.
Yeah.
You know, if you'd come in at big money, you're then sort of saying, well, let's go and have a look. But
I think
great recruitment.
Yeah, fantastic. And I think that's the thing. Not every signing City have had has been an Erling Haaland.
The first game, Champions League game, and he just came straight in.
It was, yeah. And then shortly after,
I was covering it. It was Champions League.
And I tell you what changed after that.
And it was like, oh, here we go.
And what changed after that?
Instant.
A few weeks later, it's the Manchester derby, and it was him and Nathan Ake starting at centre back, and they were exceptional. But people saying, oh, but how can you have Ruben Diaz on the bench? Well, I said, this is why. And I think Ake as well has been incredible this season. So much so that from the outside, City's season ended the moment you sold Joao Cancelo. Yet still, Nathan Ake's been in there. And City have been on their best run of the whole season.
Just a quick mention, actually, just a nice little segue for me there. Speaking of the derby, our under-18s are in action. See that?
Oh, this guy, bravo.
And I don't know if there's an unbelievable, that was a last-minute winner, a scorpion kick from our young player there. Here we go.
Oh,
Stop it. So you can see there, Saturday the 15th, 11:30. It's available on City Plus and Recast. Watch our under-18s in action, vying for another under-18s crown. Steph, just quickly on Nathan Ake, because we spoke about players, you know, Sane maybe wanted to play more, ended up, you know, going understandably, Cancelo. Ake struggled with injuries, game time. Just for young players, I think, how much of an idol should Nathan Ake be for the way he's conducted himself, but then worked behind the scenes, which he's spoken about quite honestly, to then get into the position he's in now? And how difficult is it to do that in such a talent-filled squad?
Yeah, I think obviously when you join a club like Manchester City and you're being managed by Pep Guardiola, you have to have expectation that there is going to be some sort of rotation. So I think knowing Nathan, I know that he's very professional, he's very dedicated, and he's had to bide his time. And I don't think any of us probably expect him to be playing left back this season, but he's been fantastic. I think watching him against the likes of Saka and keeping him quiet in big games when we need him to step up, he's been absolutely phenomenal. And I think there's still more to come from him as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see what Sarah as well. I mean, how impressed have you been with Nathan Ake, Sarah?
Yeah, absolutely, I have. And I have to say, I feel like at the moment is it fair to say we're quite lucky on the injury front, the players we have available at the moment. I don't know if you guys would agree with that.
What have you gone and done that for? Why have you just said that? Well, for Houghton, long may it continue.
Well, but I guess but also you've got to say credit to the medical staff as well. We've got some of the best, I think, in the business.
Dedicated players as well.
Yes.
You know, that's the truth of it as well. I mean, you can be unlucky, but generally, you know, if you do everything right,
Well, I did, Sarah.
Stick with it, don't they?
I did an interview with Nathan Ake, and he was talking about that he became aware very quickly that the routine he maybe had at Bournemouth was not conducive to him being able to perform at a highest level as regular as you need to at Manchester City. So that involved starting to incorporate yoga after every kind of gaming session, I think he said, after every game, and also looking at doing physio, not just here, but when he goes home as well. So as you say, I think it's personal dedication.
I think it might have helped him as well that in his mentality, delighted to be here, understood his role coming in, that he's not necessarily going to play every single game, although he'd want to and he would try to aspire to. And it gives you a little bit more than a person who's expected to be in the team, gets straight in and then out. Psychologically, you can't always accept that position.
Yes, yeah.
So I think he's just been very, very dedicated, very professional, a bit unlucky, as you say, with injuries. And now he's just enjoying his football. You're getting the best out of people who are playing regularly. And I think he's not asked to do anything like over and above. So in that position, he doesn't have to go and get in advanced positions. And I think he can just stay in a steady position, covering, and he's happy in a 3 that he's done before. Yeah. So actually, when you look at how City are generally, it's these tests now, isn't it, where he's up against a pure... But you said Saka, he did well in that game.
Yeah.
But how hard... Look, again, obvious question. How hard is it to have gone from his traditional left centre-back role, which we see he does when we come into the 3, but to then go to left back, you know, and actually we've seen him now, he's been more attacking. He got 2 goals in the international break for his national team as well. But it can't be an easy transition.
No, I don't think it would have been easy, but I think that's what happens when you work hard on the training ground, and obviously you're probably studying what Pep wants you to do and what the manager and the rest of the teams, and it obviously helps when you've got great players around you as well in terms of letting you settle in, and the fact that they have a lot of the ball all the time, Man City, it probably does help grow your confidence in that position. But his obvious strengths are in them 1v1 situations. He's an out-and-out defender, and I think he's worked really hard in his attacking game. But what Brownie said in terms of, I think what he does is very simple, but it's so effective, and keeping the ball and just winning your tackles.
Do you know when he's out there as a centre-back and he's going towards... Do you know, like, you're in a 3 position, where you're sometimes, but when you get towards the line and you're a natural centre-back, is that where he's at his least comfortable? Do you know, when he's delivered the ball, he's close to the line? And the other thing I'd say, me looking as a midfield player, I played full-back once, when the ball's getting crossed over, I'm in an unnatural position to where I'd like, you know, you know, when the ball's come in, say, for instance, from the opposite side, it's worse from the deeper one. So if it's coming from the right and he's at left back, is he in a position, I don't know, do you know, some people coming across you?
I think it's just basically a different body position and realising where your winger is. But I think that point you made with the ball, I think as a centre-half, you have all of the pitch that if you are pressed, you can play in behind, you can play to your full-back to get you out of trouble, whereas once you're close to that line, the only option you can have is probably down the line or back into your midfield.
No real out there, is there,
with
for
the
City?
teams like Bayern Munich, it's going to be tough to kind of get out of that.
Yeah, it will be indeed. Well, we've got, I think, just under, 15 minutes until kick-off, so we're all very excited, of course, taking on Bayern Munich. This is our starting 11 at the bottom of your screen. Before we do a quick focus on the attacking side of the pitch for Manchester City, little spontaneous quiz for our guests here in the studio.
Not this again.
Listen.
Not this again.
Give the viewers what they want. It goes down a storm.
I've not seen a single viewer ask for it, but still, let's go.
Well, WhatsApp would say otherwise, actually, Nedum. Thank you very much.
Make us look at
daft as possible.
Okay,
yeah.
quick attacking quiz. It's all right, quick attacking, don't worry, yeah. Okay, question number 1. You can work as a team if you want.
Yep.
Who is Manchester City's all-time top scorer in the Champions League, including the 2016 and 17 season? Is it A, Sergio Aguero, B, Raheem Sterling, C, Gabriel Jesus, or 4, Kevin De Bruyne?
Including 2016-17 season?
That's what was written down.
Aguero, Sterling.
I think that's too obvious, Aguero.
I think it's going to be Sterling.
I think it's Sterling.
Trying to lead us to Sterling, aren't they?
Yeah.
Love that from Steph there. Spot on. It was Sterling, yeah. 21 goals for City in the Champions League. Aguero had 19, so he's had 2 more in the Champions League. All right, next one. Which team did Manchester City beat 5-1 in the group stage of the 17-18 Champions League campaign, with Aguero scoring a hat-trick? Was it against A, Basel, B, Napoli, C, Shakhtar Donetsk, or D, Feyenoord? We beat them 5-1 in the group stage. It was an Aguero hat-trick.
Well, narrows it down. He scored so many, did he?
Yeah. I'm sort of leaning Shakhtar, but I don't know.
Basel, aren't you? I think that's what you're going to say.
I was going to say Feyenoord.
We're all over the gap. So what's the last one? What's the one left?
No, we don't know in the studio. Does anyone on our wall know? Does anyone on our wall know? Get it right. Yeah, I'll go to our Salzburg supporters club. What are you saying, Thomas?
It was Shakhtar Donetsk, I think. But
sounded confident there. It was incorrect. It was Basel.
This is what's going on.
so confident. I admired the confidence. I thought you were spot on there.
Go back to him on the next one.
Okay, question number 3, gents and ladies, is how many goals did Manchester City score in the 2018-19 Champions League quarter-final against Tottenham Hotspur? Was it A1, B2, C3 or D4? That quarter-final against Tottenham Hotspur.
You're talking about both legs here, or one game?
Producer Darryl, just the home game at the Etihad.
So that's the one. That's which year was this? Sorry.
It's 18-19.
So that's the handball one.
Yeah, the one that got beat. Yeah.
What score was that?
It was tons.
Was it that many?
It was the off. Jeremy Maguire was just offside.
Oh, it was ridiculous.
Sterling just offside at the end.
Sterling, yeah.
It was a ridiculous game.
I was right.
On the day? What score did the game finish?
So it's multiple choice. You got one.
How many did you say?
It's either 1, 2, 3 or 4.
Well, go with the senior pro. Yeah, go with senior pro, yeah. We hit 4.
Same? D4?
Look, he wants us to be wrong, doesn't he?
No, you're spot on. There you go, here we go.
What score was the game? What score was the game?
Wow.
Yeah, it was 4-3. But we needed that extra goal, didn't we?
Extra goal,
the away goals, it was killer.
I was
right by.
Celebration.
Yeah, I was going nuts as well.
It was amazing. I was working on it, and I was like shouting down the mic.
I had a bright pink.
And then it just went.
I had like a City pink zippy on, and we'd moved our seats next to the away fans. And when I say I've never run quicker to the Spurs fans, and then I heard someone behind me being like, VAR, kid, VAR. And I was like, what do you mean? You've never seen someone put a nut up and get out as quick as the Etihad.
Where was he from?
Ireland.
Come over for the day.
Right, let's take a look at our attacking lineup. We'd maybe want to go straight to Erling Haaland, but I want to go to the man who's been in scintillating form this season in particular, Jack Grealish. And how big of a role could he play in tonight's game, Brownie?
Do you know when he's getting his goals? He's just happy on the football pitch, isn't he? When things are going well for him. And I knew psychologically he wasn't really enjoying it so much because he wasn't doing well. He wanted to do more. He wanted to contribute. He knew there was a lot of pressure on him. And you can see straight away he's starting to get much more joy. Assists as well. He's getting in better positions. I feel like he's almost felt, do you know what? I'm going to play a little bit more how I want, rather than he possibly was thinking, should I come inside? Should I go left? Should I take somebody on? And he's overthinking it slightly, but it took him a little bit of time, and now he's getting a lot more space. He's understanding the positions, and I think it's been a great return for him. It's nice to see somebody smiling. When he got that goal and ran in front of the supporters at the weekend, it was great. So hopefully more goals for Jack Grealish going forward. But I don't know what you think. I think it's like a wide player need a bit of confidence, don't they, to go past people.
Mm.
I think for Jack, it's been good to see him do what he does best, and I think people were thinking, would he change the way that he plays? But in the form that he's in, he's doing what he does best, which is attract players, and he gets up players, he gets the byline, he cuts it back, and like you said, he's got assists, he's getting goals now, he's getting in the right place at the same time, and I think his physicality, I think he's really stepped up. He can stay at that intensity over 2 or 3 games over a short space of time, and he's always wanted to play in the Champions League, and he'll be absolutely buzzing off this night tonight.
That's the thing. It's that buzzing. Like when you hear him speak after games, he speaks the same way like everyone that's watching the show would be speaking if they were playing in the Champions League game. That's how excited he is. And I think this season, obviously, towards the back half in particular, he's gotten all the goals, the assists, and so on. So firstly, that means this is the best he's ever been in his career.
Yes.
But people don't necessarily want to talk about that. And secondly, Nathan Ake's had a better job back there because Jack's been on that side. Because look at the times, because he's honest, he tracks all the way back.
Jack had a slide tackle the other week, didn't he?
Hey, he does it.
In
That's
front
what
of
he
the
does.
bench, he was crying, and there was another block with Mo Salah when he's going down as well.
I remember there was one against Arsenal at the Emirates a good few weeks ago, and it slid under the radar, but I was like, I know plenty of wingers that would not come back there, but that could have led to something. But unfortunately, because nobody wants to see him defend, they don't notice it when he does it.
He was desperately trying to do well.
Yes.
Do you know, and I feel like he was getting a bit of criticism and he was just getting caught up in it a little bit and he was a little bit uptight and it's just took time to come back out and get your game, and he's on a good spell at the moment and he's enjoying his football. That's what we want to see, the players happy.
I'm calling it, he's the match winner today.
Takes on Papa. Do you know what? Because then he'd go again, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Yes.
If he could win this game, not a De Bruyne, not a Haaland, who we expect, but somebody like Jack could really go on again.
Yeah.
Is that partly why, then, when we're speaking of that, maybe just a little bit, why he's opted for Bernardo Silva instead of Mahrez on the right-hand side? Because we know Bernardo can basically run a marathon.
Yeah, he certainly can. And it's a tough call, you know what I mean? Because Mahrez might give you a slightly better attacking output, you know, creating those isolations 1v1 in the box. Like Davies is good athletically, but maybe he can't move his feet the way that sort of he needs to playing against the Mahrez. But Bernardo Silva, we've seen it for years. Like, sometimes in these big games, he's the best player, and the best player by a mile. So to have him out on the field, it's amazing. And best of all, like, he joins a long list of players on that pitch who've got all that technical side of things, but they'll also just kick you into Rosette as well if they need to. And I kind of like that, to be fair.
Yeah.
When you've got the dogs on the field,
it might suit Riyad Mahrez, though. Do you know, like, I know he'll want to play and he'll want to start, but a bit later on in this game where it's slightly open.
Yes.
If you
could go, I'm going to show you the Champions League is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And we've seen some brilliant
What do you think about this then? If, say, the game's going on and then for some reason they take off Davies, bring on Cancelo, would you then counter it by putting on Mahrez and say, go and get him, or what?
Well, that depends, doesn't it? Because he's going to... Will Cancelo go inside because it's something he knows, or will he go down the outside? It depends how Pep sees it. So, I mean, I think Riyad will quite fancy his chances.
Yeah, understandably, yeah.
So he'll know how he does it. And he's got that cheeky little something anywhere. He wants to put people on the backside.
Right, you can have time to think, because I'm going to get predictions from our guests who have joined us from around the world. We want to say thank you so much for joining us. And Sarah, you have the honours of going first for us tonight, my love. So could you give us your score prediction, please?
I always find this a really awkward question when you guys ask me, because I don't know whether to say what I think is probable or what I want to see. But I'm going to go with 4-1.
Love that, Sarah. Okay, let's go to Ricardo and Thomas, who are from the Salzburg Official Supporters Club. Gents, it's been so great having you on, making your debut. Can we get your predictions, please?
For me, it's 4-0.
Love it. 3-1. Okay, love that. Daps, are you going to go keep it confident?
I'm loving these scores. We need a 2-goal. For me, we need a 2-goal advantage to take over to Germany. I think 3-1, and I'll be happy with 3-1. That'll suit us second leg as well. So.
Would you take 1-0 right now?
No.
Good question.
I'm not there tonight, but I'm over there in Germany, and we need 2 goals to take to Germany with us. We need more than we took to Real. That's what we need.
I'd like the 2-goal cushion. Do we think we'll get that with your prediction, Nedum?
Look at it, as a pessimist just arrived. Yeah, I think it's a 2-1 win for City, but I think the game in Munich still relies on City scoring goals. I don't think them scoring 1 goal over there will be enough to get them through the tie, whatever score today's game is.
Interesting. Okay.
So I'm seeing it in its totality, and I think they'll win today 2-1, but they'll have to do something in the next game. And I'm worried because if you say a 2-goal lead, as you go over there, you get a defensive mindset because you want to hold on to something as opposed to playing the game.
That's
when it's
interesting.
just a 1-goal lead.
Steph?
I'm just going to say 2-0.
2-0.
I think clean sheet will help us so much.
Defender says clean sheet.
We just spoke about defenders. I thought I might as well pick them up and give them a clean sheet.
I love that.
Well.
Absolutely right, Steph. 2-0. Michael Brown?
Any win. However it
Give us the prediction.
Any win.
Give us the score.
No, it's true. I'd say 1-0, say anything now, because these are just big games. What's the score going to be? I have to get 1-0 then, won't I?
Yeah, we'll go.
I don't really believe it.
Well,
just everyone's covered.
We've all covered the bases there, which is good. Well, listen, massive thank you again to our guest there on the board. Enjoy the game. We've really loved having you on. It's always a treat. And a massive thank you to my guests here in the studio. The lads are in the tunnel. Champions League nights at the Etihad. We do love them. Thank you so much for joining us on Matchday Live. We'll be back at half-time and full-time. The last thing for me to say is come on, City.
Well, it is a quarter-final tie which would grace the final itself, as 2 of the favourites to win the competition meet head-on here at the Etihad Stadium. City face Bayern Munich as they continue their pursuit of the only trophy which has so far eluded them. And with a second leg next week in Germany, they now have the opportunity to try and make home advantage count. Remember, they've not lost any of their last 24 European home games, 22 of which they've won. Many of those they've won handsomely.